So I actually am going to enter the lab first, but then we have the rest of the time to just answer whatever questions you have. But I'm introing it first because the lab is just basically make whatever you want as long as it's a mean app. And so you have the option of working with other people. We're not going to police you. You can work by yourselves if you want to. But these things do tend to go much easier when you work together, as I hope you've seen by now. Let's see. Well, okay, easier may not be the best word, but we would like to everyone to submit something by the end of the day. So it can be the same thing someone else submits, but like if you guys are working together, that's cool. But everyone submits something by the end of the day. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You got to use Express, Mongo, and Mongoose. And then here are the bonuses. The bonuses are called bonuses because they're bonuses. They're not like you must do this. They're bonuses. Um, and then the only other thing, so this groups thing, like oh yeah, we will leave the group selection up to you. There you go. You did remember to put it in there. So a couple things to keep in mind. Keep it simple and don't reinvent the wheel. So like you've probably noticed in this class that like we basically have made the exact same app 3 million times, like Tuner or Grumbler or whatever the other ers are. I mean, it's all pretty much the exact same thing. And that's not just because we're WDIM or unimaginative. That's because the vast majority of apps are like the exact same thing under the hood. Not just in this class, but in the real world too. And so like my example up here is like you have a Porsche and you have a Honda, and they both look totally different, but they're the exact same thing underneath. Well, I mean, if you're like a car snob, then you're like, it has more horsepower. But I mean, they both do the same thing and have more or less the same parts. So yeah, so please do keep it simple. Keep in mind, whatever it is that you make today is not going to be the app that defines you for the rest of your life. And so if you put that kind of pressure on yourself, I mean, I think a lot of you guys saw that with the last project especially, where it was like, well, shit, it's getting time for me to apply for jobs, so I better make something that is amazing. And that puts a lot of pressure on you and doesn't necessarily work out the way you would expect. So keep it simple. Just do something fun, do something silly. And if you really commit to doing something fun and simple and silly, I think you'll be amazed at how well it turns out. The coolest things I've made are like the things that started off as like the goofiest or silliest or simplest. Whereas anytime I've been like, I'm going to make something amazing that everyone's going to want to use, well, I mean, none of you guys have want to use the things I've made yet, so clearly it hasn't worked out that well. So, yeah, keep it small, keep it simple, keep it secret, keep it safe. And then asking for help, so it's going to be exclusively through the tech support Slack channel. So normally we have instructors available for support throughout the day, and we're not doing that today. And that's
training wheels off.
Yeah, exactly. Training wheels off. So it's this whole gradual release of responsibility. Not so gradual today. We're sort of throwing it on today. But like, and so one thing I'm always like nervous about whenever we do this is there's always someone who's like, well, what are we paying you for? And I'm like, well, I mean, you're not. No, hey, I wouldn't say it if it hadn't happened before. But I mean, just keep in mind that you're not paying us to hold your hand, because you're paying us to make you a good and marketable programmer. And so that's the goal of today. So we're certainly going to be like, say what?
I have to answer that question a lot myself.
Yeah.
As a teacher.
Yeah, damn straight. So we're certainly going to be paying a lot of attention to the Slack channel, but we do have meetings and stuff throughout the day, so we won't always be able to respond immediately. So your best resources are going to be the resources you already have. That is Google, lesson plans, whatever screencasts we've made, and most importantly, the other students, which is why I would strongly encourage you to work with someone else. Again, we will be paying attention to it, but everyone else, everything else is probably your best resource for today. If you do have like scheduled one-on-ones, those are still totally going to happen. But we're just not going to be floating around for open office hours. So that is the lab. Yeah. So any questions about that? Just to start off with? And like, because it's Mongo, like MongoDB isn't necessarily the most conducive to two-model CRUD apps because it's not a relational database. So just start off with one model and just put things onto that. Like posts or like a URL shortener or something. We put a couple of different ideas down here, like recipes and ingredients or something. You can really take it any way you want, but start off with just something simple. Like in that screencast I put up yesterday working on that Tag Anything app, I had one field in my model, and that was name, and that's it. And that kept me more than occupied for actually getting everything set up. Once everything's set up, it is easy as pie to go back in and add in additional fields and everything. So take whatever idea you come up with originally and do it like 50% simpler than that. I'm not sure that math adds up, but I think you know what I'm going for. Okay, yeah, Naran.
So adding angle is a bonus.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's why the A is in parentheses. All right, cool. So you do have... Damn it, Casey. I waited for 6 seconds. So you do have me for the next 45 minutes or so to review and go over whatever you want to go over. You talking smack?
No.
Don't make me come back there. Oh, yeah. I mean, I can. I'd be totally happy to do that. But like I've already done that like twice, and yesterday wasn't particularly successful. So I just want to make sure that if there are other things people would want me to do, then I'm totally happy with that. Brittany?
Could you give some other like ideas of what students have done in the past?
So this is the first time we've done this lab, actually. In the past, we've done it more structured, but we're trying to get away from that because we want people to take more ownership of this and everything. So these are the ideas we came up with here. That's okay. These are the ideas we came up with. This was my idea, competitive cookie clicker. I think that would be super cool. I'm not really even sure what that would look like, but I like the idea of it, and I like that each word starts with a C.
A leader.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. What else? I mean, really anything following the whole like post comments thing, I think works really well with Mongo. But it could also be like an address book or like a Rolodex or something, or like I don't know, dates I've had, like a date logger or something. No, I mean literally like anything where there are different, not dates I personally have had, but like you guys. Yeah, anything, really. Or like comparing prices or something. I don't know. Lots of different things.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Should I just build a mean app?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I mean, if anyone like wants to just go off and jump into it, that's totally kosher too. Okay, let's see. So what should I do? Well, you know what? I'm just going to start off with the simplest possible thing I can think of, which is just I'm going to have a one model app called Thing. I'll go with Thing. That sounds good. So I will call this Thinger. All right, so let's see. I'm going to do git init, and I'm going to put a readme in here. I'm not even going to put anything in it, but I'll have that in there. Initial commit. Okay, cool. So now I have a folder, damn it, with a .git file and a readme in it. So what am I going to do next? All right. Well, I can only do npm install if I have a package.json, and I don't have one of those yet. So how would I? Yes, it is. npm init. And it's going to ask me a bunch of questions, and I'm not even going to bother reading them. Okay, it's probably done now. Cool, and npm init gives me this package.json. And now I can start installing stuff. So what is the first thing I would probably want to install? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to do npm install, then what? -- save express. All right, and I can see that little node modules thing popping up over there. I can see that express has been added right here. So there we go. There's that. And then, okay, so what's the first file I'm going to make? Sure, index.js, why not? Touch index.js. And then in here, let's see. So the first thing I'm going to do in any Express app is I'm going to require Express. This is wrong. Why is this wrong?
Because it's in the node modules folder, so it should lose the dot slash.
Yep. All right. And then I'm going to say var app equals Express parentheses. And then I want to do two things before I make my first real commit. I want to set up just sort of a dummy test page, and I want to be able to fire up my server to begin with. So what do I need to do so that I can launch my server? Yes, app.listen, and then what? Sure. I'm going to do 3002 just to mix it up. And then in here, I don't have to even put this in here if I don't want to, but I like to put in something like, the server is alive. Okay, cool. So that starts up my server. I can't see anything in my browser yet. So how would I set up sort of a dummy test route? What would I do for that? App.get, cool. App.get. I'm just going to do slash function request response, and then I'll do res.send. I'm working. Okay, and it should be done. So now let me fire up NodeMon. And if I go to localhost 3002, and I know I'm going to type 3001 like a million times over the course of this. Okay, cool. So that seems to be working. That is plenty good for my first commit. So I'm just going to call this a basic Express server. All right. Any questions so far? Cool. Once I get into the swing of things, I forget to ask if people have questions. So feel free to just throw your hand up there. Okay, let's see. What should I do next? I don't know. What do you guys think I should do next? Nara? Sure. Okay, I'll do my seeds file. Why not? Okay, so I'm going to put that in a DB folder just for kicks. And then I'm going to need a connection file. I don't need a connection file, but I like to have a connection file. And I'm going to say var mongoose equals require mongoose. And if I try to run this right now, it's going to throw an error because... Yeah, exactly. npm install -- save mongoose. Cool. Okay, so I've got that. Now I think I can make my first schema. So be really imaginative, and I'm going to kind of call it things schema. And each thing is going to have a name, which will be a string. And you know what? I'll give it a description too. I may not even do anything with it, but that will also be a string. Okay? And now I'm going to say mongoose.model thing and pass thing schema into it. And so this is going to let Mongo realize that I have this model called a thing somewhere in here. Okay, and then the second to last thing I need to do is actually connect to the database. And I'm going to connect to MongoDB / localhost thinger. And I think that should be it. So now I'm going to try running that file, and we'll see what happens. I will consider it successful if I don't get an error. And I got an error because mongod. All right, cool. It's not doing anything, so I'll assume it's ticking along just fine. All right, so I've got my connection set up. Now I want to get some seed data into my database, so that's what I'll do next. Yeah, but I'll make a commit first. Connected to database. Okay, so I'm going to put all of my seeds in a JSON file. Don't have to, but I like to. And then now I'm really going to need some help because now I have to think of different things. Any idea? Dr. Seuss, great. Oh, well, too late. I already did Dr. Seuss. Description. He was an author. Name, thing, one. Trying to keep this stuff aligned, but I'm not doing a very good job of it. Did he? Oh, cool. He is a thing who has a brother. Wait, I thought, well, are they both male? Do we know? He is who has an androgynous sibling. I'm not sure if that's how you spell androgynous, but we're gonna go with that.
That's correct.
Name, thing two, description, usually portrayed with blue hair and a red jumpsuit type thing. Okay, cool. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna run it through JSONLint just to make sure I don't have any errors in this. Hopefully it shows up green, and it shows up green. Cool, so my JSON is valid. Okay, so now I need to actually get this into the database. So I'll create a file called seeddb.js. Mostly just because otherwise I know I'm gonna get that and the seeds file mixed up, so maybe I won't with this. Okay, so this is going to actually not require Mongoose because I have Mongoose required somewhere else already. So any thoughts as to what I'm going to require instead? Connection. Yep, the connection. So if I do this, it won't work because I need dot slash because it's a file. Okay, and now I need var thing equals mongoose.model, and then this has to match whatever I put in my connection file. So here I said the model is called thing, so here I also need to say the model is called thing. If this was wombat, then this would need to be wombat. It's got to match there. Oops, shit, back. Damn. Okay, and now I think I can create all my things. First, I would like to remove all of them, just in case I have any stragglers in the database. And then, first I need to include my seed file. Seed data equals require dot slash, because it's a file, seeds. I don't have to write .json at the end. I can if I want to, but Express figures that out automatically. So first I'm going to remove the things, and then I'm going to create things from the seed data. And what am I forgetting to do here? Sanjay, is you not
it as an object for the remove?
you don't actually. It can be empty, yeah, and it works either way. Matt? Yeah. But why? Yeah, exactly. So it's got to be inside a .then function because I only want to create new things when the old things have been deleted. And I'm going to take this one step further, and I'm going to put a process.exit in here. Anyone remember what this does? It's not absolutely necessary, but I'd like to have it. Kyra?
It makes it so that it doesn't keep running that when it's finished, that it accesses that process.
Exactly. So now when I run that seed file, node db seeddb.js. Okay. Mongoose.model is not a function. There's something I forgot to do in this file. Okay. Yes, that's exactly it. I forgot to do module.exports. So anytime you require a file, it needs to be exporting something out of it. Now I think this will work. Okay, I don't see anything there, so that should be good. I'm going to open up my Mongo database just to double check. And I'm going to do db things dot find, I think. Oh, look at that. Yep, there they are. Cool. I actually saw this thing yesterday. I wonder if this will work. Oh, no. Yeah, so I learned about this yesterday where you can do this like dot explain thing and it tells you like a whole bunch of additional stuff about what you just looked up. That doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but I thought it was cool. Okay, cool. So now I can seed my database. So I'll make a commit. Can seed my database with things. Any questions so far? Okay. So that is all good to go. So now I'm gonna make this stuff show up in my Express app. So I'm gonna do something like var mongoose. Oof, better realign everything. That's crucial. Require DB connection. And now I need to redefine that model. Var thing equals mongoose.model thing. And just to start off with, I'm going to try printing out all of the things I have in my database. So I'm going to do thing.find. And I could, Sanjay, to your point, I could either put an empty object in here or nothing at all. It actually works both ways. Then function response. And I'm going to do res JSON response. Make sure nodemon is running. Okay. And now if I go to this, hopefully I will see my things. And there they are. Cool. So I'll make another commit. Git add express can retrieve and render stuff from the database. Okay, cool. So I've got my database set up. I've got Express sort of set up. Where do y'all want to go from here? Sarah?
Should we make an HTML file?
Sure, let's do that. Okay, so what should I do for that?
We have to make an, I guess it could be called an index. No, we need to make a main layout one, right?
Oh, so you want to do, so handlebars.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we have to require that?
Yeah.
Install it first?
Yep, exactly. So I'm going to do npm install -- save. Jesse mentioned that he prefers HBS. I prefer Express handlebars, but they're like basically the exact same thing. Sorry, that's not one of those things where I should just throw off because now everyone's like, what? I would just use Express handlebars. If that's what you use, keep using Express handlebars.
If there's no difference of consequence, then
I don't know. So I think he said that he likes HBS because you don't have to do as much configuration. Actually, like, you know how when you do Express handlebars, what we've been doing, you have to say like partials dir, layouts dir, blah, 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 all that stuff. Actually, I lied. You don't have to write any of that stuff. We're putting it in there so that you know how you can configure it. Really, you can leave pretty much all of that off and it'll still work. But I forced everyone to put it in there so that you know that you can configure it in different ways. So Jesse was saying like, yeah, you don't have to configure HBS. I'm like, well, you don't really have to configure Express handlebars either. So yeah, I actually don't know what the difference is. So I'd say just keep using Express handlebars. Just forget I said anything. Adrian?
Forgive me, maybe dirty, but if you use the HBS, do you not get to write with the handlebars and the two copies?
I don't know, actually.
I don't.
I'm just going to use Express handlebars. And if you don't want to worry about it, I would encourage you to use Express handlebars as well. I'm going to go to war with Jesse over this. All right, cool. So there's that. I'm going to require that. Var hibs. Damn it. Okay, so I've got HBS. Now what?
Now we need to, make our HRV file, index dot or dash, whatever we want to name it.
Mhm.
HRV.
But I would like to put it in a folder somewhere. I'm going to call that folder views. And actually, before I can do anything with HBS, I need to configure it. And so there are two different app.somethings I need to write for this. Anyone remember what they are? app.set? Oh, okay. Anyone remember what this one was?
Use. Yeah.
Well, that's the other one, I think. Actually, no, it's app.set, and then the other one is actually app.engine, which gives you a hint about what I'm going to put in this .set. Anyone remember? No. You're on the right track. Nara? Yeah, view engine. And over here, I'm going to put, I think it's HBS. Let's see if I can do this from memory. Then down here, I'm going to configure HBS. Probably not, but we'll find out. Let's see. So this takes 4 arguments. Can anyone remind me what they are? Or not 4 arguments, but there are 4 things inside this object I'm defining right here. Yeah, X name, that's 1. What else? Brandon, what were you just saying?
I was going to say view and partial.
Yeah, partials dir, layouts dir, and then anyone remember the last one? It was default layout. So the extension name is always going to be .hbs. The partials dir, that's going to be views. The layouts dir is also going to be views. And the default layout, which I haven't made yet, but I'm going to call it layout main. I wonder if I'm getting any errors yet. Yeah, I'm getting one. I see you, just 1 second. Okay, so what did I forget? I'm not sure. So I'm just going to gradually remove things from this until that error goes away, and then that'll give you an idea of where it is. Let's see. Well, that's not it, so it must be somewhere in here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so I'll look. Now, what was your question while I'm looking this up? No, HBS is like, it's sort of one of the standard express ways of viewing things. And so it just sort of, like there are a couple different like default view engines you can use, and HBS is just one of them. Honestly, I'm not really sure what the others are. I think Haml might be one. Not like Mark Hamill, it's like HAML. I don't remember what it stands for. Yeah, but so this is just one of the like default options that you can put in there. Okay, index.js, what did I forget? Aha! Forgot to do .hbs here, which I'm guessing is the same thing, just like another sort of default thing. But this is all boilerplate stuff. Okay, so now the server is alive. So now I need to create my layout main. I see it. And then, since this is a layout, what do I need to put in here?
3.
Yep, 3 mustaches. Technically 6. 3 times 2. Okay, cool. So there's that. And now let me make my first actual view, I guess. So I'll make my things index view. These are the things. Okay.
So first, I'm just going to make sure that I can render that. Res render. And then what am I going to put in here?
Name that file.
Yep. Things index. Exactly. And let's see what shows up. These are the things. And I can see it's inside my layout, so looks pretty good. I'm going to say like thinger right here. I'll make this an H2. Okay, cool. So that's all showing up. I'll make another commit. Can render views with handlebars. All right, now what? A couple different directions I could go. What? Okay, cool, let's do that. So it's going to use this same format. The difference is, I'm going to move this guy in here. So there's one, what should I add on to this so that it actually works? Like this still works, but it's not actually making anything show up on my page. So what should I do next? Kyra? No, this is okay. No. Now, how am I going to pass this response into the view? That's what I'm looking for, is a way of passing this. Yeah, exactly. I need to put a second argument on this dot render, and that's going to be an object. And in here, I'm going to say things, and then I'll put the response in there. Now, if I go to the things index, just try saying things. I think I'll see a whole bunch of JSON printed out. And there it is. Cool, so there's a whole bunch of JSON printed out. I don't want a whole bunch of JSON printed out. I want this to look all nice and pretty. So I'll do each things. I can never remember this syntax. Is it this? I don't know, so I'll just try it and see what happens. Thing.name, let's see if that works. Oh, cool, I got it. Yes. All right, cool.
Quick question.
Yes.
At least once I saw it, thing index instead.
Mhm.
What's that about? I forgot.
Well, what do you think it's going to be?
Does it have to do with the template? No.
Hint, things is an array.
Oh, okay. So going through each by index, that sort of thing.
So if I put index here, I should see 0, 1, 2. And there it is. One thing to note is I can't just do index plus 1, I don't believe. It's going to throw an error at me. So Angular is pretty loose with handlebars, but Express is not loose at all with handlebars. You can't just do logic inside handlebars the way you can in Angular or the way you can with ERBs. So if I actually want this to have, if I want it to be 0, 1, 2, and 3 instead of 0, 1, and 2, I'm going to have to do something else. One easy way of doing it would be just to make this an ordered list. There we go. Maybe I'll say each one's description as well. Yay. All right, cool. Looking pretty good. I'll make another commit. Can render things from database in views. All right. Now what? Show page. Okay, cool. Let's do that. So I'm going to do app.get slash, I'll come back to that in a second. Okay, and I would like to, I mean, we could do a couple different ways of getting each thing. We could get each thing by its ID or by its name. And Mongo IDs are really ugly, so I think I'm probably just going to do it by name. So let's see. If someone goes to /Dr. Seuss, then this name is going to be Dr. Seuss. So I'm going to want to find a thing with the name of Dr. Seuss. And I can tell you right now, this is going to throw an error, or it's not going to work the way I want it to at any rate. Anyone know why? Yes, exactly. I've got to do find one. Find is always going to return an array. I don't want an array. I want just one thing. Response. And then I'll just start off with just sending this out as JSON, just to make sure it works. Okay, so I think if I go to /Dr. Seuss, shows me Dr. Seuss. All right, pretty good. This is what I meant when I said that Mongo IDs are really ugly. So like you can do stuff by ID if you want to, but it just looks gnarly. All right, so I can see that that's working. And actually, so here's one kind of nifty thing. You actually don't even need to do this whole name rec params name thing here. That's because what rec params looks like, this rec params thing, like right now it looks like name Dr. Seuss. And so I could just take that and put it in there. That would still work fine. And so if this is the exact same thing as rec.params, why not just put rec.params in there? And then that's a little bit less that I have to write. So if I go to /Dr. Seuss, I still get Dr. Seuss. And if I go to thing1, I get thing1. Byron?
That's pretty much just equaling the thread in the function right now.
This response and this res are completely different things. This res represents what's being sent back to the user. This response is the response from the database. Two different responses. That's how I name them different things.
What was it before you changed the rec.params?
So before it was name rec_params.name. And I changed it to just plain old rec.params because what rec.params looks like, if I were to console log it out right now, it would look like name thing1. What I want to get into here is name thing1. And so if rec.params looks like this anyway, if they're like the exact same thing, then why not just put rec.params in here? Oops, come back. There we go. All right, cool. So there's that. Now I'm going to make my view for this. So I will call it thingsshow.hibs. And then in this one, I'll do something like thing.name and then thing.description. That should be good. Now I'm going to res.render things show, and then I'll pass in thing response. Let's see what that does. No, it sure isn't. Okay, so let's see. What did I do wrong? Oh, I made a typo. Can anyone see it? Resender. Yeah, that's not right. There we go. All right. So my show page is working. Last thing I want to do is just set this up so these are links to the show page. So I'm going to say a href thing.name. And then, just for good measure, I'm going to make this guy a link back to the main root. So I don't have to type things in so much. So if I click that, here we go. Bless you. Yay. All right, there we go. Totally good enough for a commit. Any questions before I commit this guy? So if I were to change this to Wombat, then I would need to close those. If I were to change this to Wombat, then I would need to change this to Wombat. So this represents whatever the variable is going to be called in my view, and this represents whatever the value of that variable is going to be. So this is the response from the database. Mm-hmm. Sure. There it is. Sorry? Yeah, sure. Yep, and so if I just do thing, then it's going to be that raw JSON that I just saw in my console log. It's the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, get rid of this guy. And then I will commit that. Added show page. All right, now what? Okay, cool. Edit, let's see. All right, I'm just gonna put that on this page. So I haven't put Angular in here yet, so I need to use what HTML element if I'm gonna be sending data? Yeah, form. And I'll make an input for the thing's name. So it's going to be thing name. And I'll put value thing name in here. And then I'll do a text area for the description because it looks a little bit bigger. Let me see how that's looking. All right, wow, that looks great. Yeah, I'm really surprised no one said CSS yet because this is like so ugly. It's driving me crazy, but whatever. Okay, update. All right, so this is like the sort of boilerplate part of my form setup. So now what should I do? Yoon? Yes. And I always forget that. Thank you for reminding me. I need to install body parser. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so body parser, well, let me show you this without body parser. So, actually, let's hold off on body parser for just 1 second. I've installed it, but I haven't required it in here yet, so it's not doing anything. But Yoon, you're exactly right, and thank you for bringing that up. We'll get to that in a second. But what should I do next? What do I need to do in order for this form to be able to get its data to express in the first place? All right. I haven't done that yet. I'm going to wait on body parser. Tony? Yeah, I need an action and method inside my form. And what do they do?
Okay, so action is method is what it's doing.
Okay.
So you're posting things.
Mm-hmm.
Action is
Where it's going.
going.
Yep. So here I'm going to put wherever it is that I want this data to be sent. So I'm going to send this to thing.name. So now if I look at this, if I look inside the HTML, I can see that when I click when I click update, it's going to post it to /Dr. Seuss, which is exactly what I want. And so now I need to put what in Express? No? So I'm going to try to post to /Dr. Seuss, and I can tell you right now it's not going to be successful because what's missing? Yeah, I need a root for it. Okay, so this, let's see. Well, here, we'll start off with this. res.json rec.body. And I see a whole lot of nothing. So this is why body parser is necessary. It's because rec.body doesn't exist until you have body parser in there. So Express doesn't have anything out of the box for reading data that has been sent by a form. That's because not every app needs to be able to do that, and Express is all about being as light as it possibly can be. So if I want to do anything with form data, then I need to build in something that can read and parse that form data. That's where body parser comes in. So I'll say parser equals require body parser. And then I think this is app.use parser.url encoded extended true. We'll find out. Yeah, there we go. So this is all the data that I just posted. If I was doing Angular, this would be .json. So forms send things URL encoded. Angular sends things JSON encoded. Okay, so I can see that I can get the data. Now I need to actually do something with it. So I'm going to find one and update. And this is sort of a combination of, oh, well, I don't have a .create. If I had a .create, then I would say it's like a combination of that and get, but I don't have it yet. First, I'm going to do exactly what I did up here with find one. I'm just going to pass in rec.params. Then I need to pass in what it is I actually want to update. So that's going to be rec.body. I think it's going to be rec.body.thing, actually. And then I need to do this new true. Why do I need to do that? Or why do I like to do that? Okay? Yeah, because if I didn't put in this new true, what would I get back from the database? Exactly. Get all the old data back. So function response. And then, yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll just copy this. Actually, no. I'm going to redirect to no, not in handlebars, response.name. Ooh, that was a lot. Okay, so let's see what happens. He was not an author. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm going to call this to Dr. Seussical. And yep, that works too. And now I'm going to change it back. Sweet. All right, so now I have updating. Can update a thing.
Hey, Ryan, can you go back to the form itself?
Sure.
Why? Can you explain the naming part with things? Naming?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me change this back. I'm going to comment all this stuff out just for demonstration purposes. And I'm just going to JSON out whatever the body is. So when I submit this, I get this. Let me change some of these fields around. So instead of this being thing square brackets name, I'm going to call this wombat name. And now when I submit this, now I get this. I get wombat name and thing description. So I'm sort of defining two different objects in here. If I just did wombat by itself, oh no, that's stupid. I'll just do name by itself, just like that. And I submit that, then I get this. So this is still sort of object-y syntax, sort of, kind of, faking it a little bit. And so anytime you do something not in square brackets, it creates a new sort of object for that, and then anything inside square brackets is going to be a property of that object. And I believe you can nest it however much you want. So I think if I do thing wombat description, yep, we got thing wombat description, just like that.
And I think you mentioned that, I think he asked this question, this is an HTML thing?
Mhm.
So yeah, you know.
Yep, this is totally an HTML thing. Yep. If you look at the source code of the pages you made in Rails, they do this exact syntax all the time. Cool, so let me change this back. All right. So I think I'm going to stop there because I feel like updating is always the most complicated part anyway. So, any questions? Yeah, Anissa. Uh-huh. Good question. Let's see. It's a bit faster. It's less of a server load, but those are all things that you don't really need to worry about right now. I would say beyond that, it's mostly just like, do you prefer working on front end or back end JavaScript? Also, keep in mind that Angular has a lot of like cool built-in things like filtering and sorting and all that stuff. We didn't really use that over the course of this week because it was much more about just being able to move stuff around in the database with Angular. But all those things are still there. So like think back to that inventory tracker app where we could filter and sort and do all that stuff. You can do all of that. I mean, that's built right into Angular. So if you want to have all those like neat functionalities and everything right out of the box, then I think Angular would be a good way to go for that. But don't have to if you don't want to. Also, I'd say one more advantage is that writing HTML forms can be a little tedious, and you don't really need to do it as much when you're doing Angular. And so if you want to have like a really sleek front end, or maybe you want to animate between like going different views or something, you couldn't really do that if you're just using handlebars, but you absolutely could if you're using Angular. So I'd say if you find yourself writing an awful lot of front-end JavaScript anyway, you're probably sort of reinventing the wheel a bit when you could really just be using Angular. But it's not necessary for every situation, not by any means. Anything else? Yes, I'm recording. Yes, I'll push this up. No?
I have an idea to use images. It would kind of be the same process, right? They would be different.
So for images, you would do the exact same thing as you would do for CSS. You would create a public folder or an assets folder, whatever you want to call it, and then you would load that like really the exact same way as you would a CSS or JavaScript file. There's nothing complicated about it like there is in Rails. It's the exact same thing as CSS and JavaScript. All right, sweet. Well, have fun, guys. Use the Slack channel, and I'll be keeping an eye out.